Morning, church. It's been a great day so far. Amen. To watch our children praise, to watch our older students lead in such a way, and then we sing together. And I come down here right before the sermon and hear the participation, which is really what it's all about, right? Because following Jesus is not a spectator sport. And I grew up, and we wouldn't call our worship place a sanctuary because we didn't like that word. We called it an auditorium, and my fear is you call it that, you're just here to audit Christianity. But I want you to participate, and that's what we were doing this morning. It was good. We've been walking through the Sermon on the Mount, something that would take reading out loud just, probably 30 minutes or so. And we've spent 30-some weeks on it because of how rich and how deep the message from Jesus really is here. And we're in chapter 6 today, starting in verse 19, as we are going to look at the treasure test today, this next level Christianity that we've been talking about for several weeks. It says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and rust do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." You know, I think there's some phrases throughout Scripture that have been misquoted, right? The phrase that money is the root of all evil is not in the Bible. Y'all know that? It's the love of money is the root of all evil. Money is, unfortunately, a necessary thing, right? We go to work and we earn money and we pay our bills, and that's how we trade these days. And it's a fact of life. We're not going to be talking about that there's evil in having any kind of treasure today, because then we would be struggling to understand some of the parables of Jesus, where a man would go and sell everything he had to buy this field because he found a treasure in it. Well, obviously he was talking about spiritual things there, but the point I want to make today is it's not wrong to have things. It's wrong to place our heart in those things. And any time that we look at our hand that is full of something, whatever it is, money or collections or belongings, and we are unwilling to let go of those things in order to have a deeper relationship with Jesus, that is where we find our problem. And I was like, this week, as I sit in my office to write a sermon like this, surrounded by things that I have collected, right? Got a glass case full of toys that I couldn't have when I was a kid because we couldn't afford it, but I was like, oh yeah, Mom, I have it now that I'm 52. I love collectibles. I like those kind of things. That's always been something I liked. But I'm telling you today, if anything in my office, anything in my house, anything in my life was taken away, I still have Jesus. Have you ever had anything stolen from you? Isn't that a horrible feeling? Like there's this feeling of like you don't know who it is or where it went or who's got it now. You've ever had those moments where you're like, oh, I don't even know what to do with myself, you know. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again, that we had I packed my car for Bible camp. I was going to go to the airport and fly to Texas. We were living in North Carolina, and I'd put my laptop underneath my seat, in my car, and I forgot to lock it. That night happened to be the night that somebody was going around checking to see if there was unlocked cars, and my laptop disappeared. That next day, I'm preparing for our trip, and I'm in that panic mode going, my lessons were on there. I mean, what am I going to do? And this is my laptop, and I'm frustrated, and of course, we claim it on insurance. I have to get another one, but those files are gone. I had no idea what's on there, all the pictures of mission trips and things like that. Well, fast forward about a year and a half, 2 years later, I get a random message on Facebook from a lady who says, hey, my dad bought this laptop from a guy at a gas station, and you had apparently left it behind in your apartment. Y'all, I haven't lived in an apartment since 1994. And I said, actually, it was stolen from my car. And she said, oh, my goodness, give me your address. I'll mail it to you right now. And I said, well, the insurance had paid for it, so let me just give you whatever you paid for it. No, I can't. My dad would be angry if we found out it was. Anyway, it came back to me, and boy, well, that's a good feeling when it showed back up. And here's all these mission trip photos and youth ministry photos from years and years and years. It doesn't always turn out that way. But I tell you what, I didn't stay up for 2 years at night going, oh, if I just had my computer, I'd be whole again. Because no matter what we have or don't have, if we have a walk with Jesus, that's all that matters. Look at anything in your life and say, is Jesus enough if I don't have any of this? And if the answer is yes, then you got your heart in the right place. And so I want to kind of unpack this a little bit. Here there are three little images that Jesus decides to use in this section of the Sermon on the Mount. He talked about your treasure, your eyes, and what masters you, what controls you. These are not three unrelated teachings. These are together for a reason. They all answer one question: who is sitting at the throne of your heart? What is driving everything that you have and you are? There are times where you heard this phrase in your life, well, he lost everything. If you have Jesus, you can never say that about you. If he's truly at the throne in your life, if he is the one making your decisions, if he is the one who is over all, no matter what you don't have now, you have everything already. First thing I want you to know today, and if you're taking notes, this is the first point, that your treasure reveals your heart. Jesus never says that treasure is wrong. He asks where your treasure is. The issue is not possessions, but it is possession, right? It is what holds you. You can have stuff, but does that stuff have you? That's the question. Where's your heart at today with the things that you... And listen, this is coming from a person who has a lot of stuff. My wife calls it junk. So when I ran across this sign that says the junkyard, I put it over the door of where my stuff is. And I want sometimes our things own us. We get things that require clubs and meetings and whatever, and then all of a sudden all of our energy and all of our time is spent trying to keep that alive. If those things have occupied your heart, occupy all of your time, then there's somebody sitting at the throne that doesn't need to be there. Every earthly treasure eventually disappears through decay, disaster, death, or loss. We were even talking about this morning, maybe some of you have seen this, I think it was in Indiana, as a matter of fact, someone bought this potato chip tin. They couldn't get it open. Y'all heard this story? And they didn't pay much for it. They opened it up over $100,000 worth of baseball cards are in there, Babe Ruth and all these. Crazy stuff in this tin. Now, every Goodwill, every tin will be sold. Because many years ago, someone took a picture they bought at Goodwill, like a painting, and they took the paper off, and there was money in there. Now everybody, do y'all notice you go to every thrift store and estate sale, the paper has been removed from every picture? You ever notice that? I do. I see that. I'm like, that's why. Everything that we have that is of some great value, at some point it becomes nothing. It's so true. You've been shopping for furniture before for a reason, because that strange plaid pattern that you've had since 1987 is not comfortable anymore? Have you been to a thrift store and seen the couches? And the ugliest patterns you've ever seen on a couch in your life, but at one time, y'all, just picture this with me. At one time, someone walked into a furniture room with their family and saw that ugly couch and said, "It's perfect." And they may have made 24 equal payments on it. And now it's for sale for $10 and it's still there. It's only there for the guy that brought someone else to go shopping is sitting in until they're done shopping. Everything we put all this value and hope in is gone just like that. It only takes one storm, one flood, one fire, and it's all gone. If our hope and our trust is in those things, then that flood, that storm, and that fire have destroyed our hearts. But if our treasure is in the right place and Jesus is on the throne, no fire, no flood, no storm can get us. This is what Jesus is trying to say. Heavenly treasures include transformed people who are living in obedience, living in generosity, living in faithfulness and holiness, and they are kingdom-oriented people. That's where your treasure is. In Matthew 19, he's talking about treasures when he said this. In Matthew 19, verse 21, he said, Jesus answered, "If you want to be perfect." All right, you guys ready? Here it is. This is what we've all been looking for. We want to be perfect. Right? Any perfectionists in the house? Don't raise your hand. Everybody knows who you are. Hold on. If you want to be perfect, he says this, "Go sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you'll have treasures in heaven, and then come follow me." Luke 18:18, he says the same thing to a rich young ruler. "Sell everything you have, give to the poor, and follow me." And the guy went away sad. Why? Because he had lots of things. I want to point out something I pointed out this morning in our discipleship group about treasures and generosity. Nowhere in this story, anytime, did Jesus ever say, "Sell everything you have, give it all away, become destitute, and follow me." Y'all know that? The ruler, the rich young man in Luke 18, starting in verse 18 and thereafter, was not told to give it all away. His possessions held his heart, and he had no generosity in him. He was missing all 10 commandments because the top one was gone. "Have no other gods before me." His stuff was his God. And he said, sell it. And he said, become generous is basically what Jesus is saying. Give to the poor. Not give it all, but give to the poor. The point is don't live for yourself. Treasures is not the problem. Treasures is not the sin. Treasures is the problem when it holds you. 1 Timothy 6, verse 17 and through 19. In this way, they will lay up treasures for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly for them, right? Let's just go there. Let's 1 Timothy chapter 6, starting in verse 17. And I think I wrote it down wrong, so it's great. Okay. Here it is, yes. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but put their hope in God, who richly provides us everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, that way, they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. Life is not being controlled by your stuff. Life truly is Christ, who is alive in us through the Holy Spirit, who controls our life. We don't need to be so concerned about your net worth. If it all disappeared tomorrow and your joy went with it, then your heart is in the wrong place. Right? We don't decorate the hotel we're going to be leaving in 2 days, do we? Have you ever gone into a hotel and said, you know what, let's go down to Walmart and get some other pictures to put on the wall? We're only going to be here for 24 hours. We laugh at that, right? We laugh at that, but that's the truth. It's how we kind of live this world. Everything we own, someone else will own one day. Let it sink in. No matter what we can write on a piece of paper and have some lawyer verify, it doesn't matter. What we own, we will not own when we are gone from this place. So if we have treasure here, at that point, it becomes absolutely worthless. So what we need to treasure above the treasure that we own is Jesus, is a life that lives for Him. Your wallet will follow your heart, but eventually your heart will follow your wallet. The kingdom is not asking us to despise the earth or despise wealth or despise possessions. It's asking us to refuse to make everything else our home and our joy. We got to make the kingdom our joy. Second thing I want you to remember today is your vision directs your life. Back in Matthew, in verse 22, chapter 6, it says, "The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light." When I was a little kid at Vacation Bible School, we sang a song. It wasn't as cool as the ones we heard today, but maybe you know it. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. There's a Father up above, and He's looking down in love. So be careful, little eyes, what you see. Y'all know that song, right? I'm so glad it says a Father looking down in love. Aren't you glad? Because if it's saying something different, like, because there's an all-seeing eye, and He's, that would have been really, it would have been scary. But the truth is, what we put into our minds and into our hearts can control us. What we believe, and it's so hard to believe anything in 2026, right? It is. It's hard to believe. I used to love see in the Babylon Bee or those kind of places that make fake news to make you laugh. And now we can't even tell what is real news and we don't even know the source for anything anymore. And we're like, how many times has your favorite celebrity passed away? Or your favorite football player was just traded to the Jets, and you go and you Google it, and it's not there. And you're like, what? But that article looks so real. A healthy eye represents a single, generous, undivided focus on Jesus. The unhealthy eye represents a divided, covetous perspective that, and Jesus is talking about visual, spiritual eyesight that is focused on good things. In Psalm 119 and verse 37, David says, "Turn my eyes away from worthless things. Preserve my life according to your word." What is worthless? Anything but Jesus. You're like, oh, but no, there's value in that. Remember that tin of potato chips that they opened and found $100,000 worth? Well, what if you opened it and found Beanie Babies from McDonald's? You would have $5. Maybe. You see what I'm saying? But in 1999, it'd been like $20 a piece. And I'm going to buy all of them that McDonald's has because one day I'm going to send my children to college on Beanie Babies. Anybody else? Push your cart right past the Pokemon cards in 1999 to buy Beanie Babies? That was dumb. Like, those Pokemon cards are not going to last. Oops. All of that can go out just like that. I love sports cards, and I'd get a card of my new quarterback at the Steelers, and I got it, and I get it graded. Before it came back from grading, he was benched and traded. Suddenly worthless, playing backup at some other team. Like, all of it's, oh, it's great today. It's gone tomorrow. Walking into homes helping people that they were like, parents passed away and they left them all this stuff, and they look in and it's like, what do I do with all of this? Because they didn't take it with them. So what do I need to do? I need to be like David and say, turn my eyes away from worthless things. Turn my focus on Jesus. I can enjoy the things of this world as long as Jesus is my focus and he's my everything. Proverbs 4, verses 23 through 27 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Keep your mouth free from perversity. Keep corrupt talk far from your lips. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths your feet the paths for your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways. Do not turn to the right or the left. Keep your foot from evil. Focus on God. You see, a flashlight determines where your feet go. Have you ever been somewhere? I remember I was in a cave or whatever with my brothers, and we have flashlights, and we're trying to, this is at Spring Mill State Park, if you've ever been in Donaldson Cave, right? Anybody else been there? No? Okay, y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're in Donaldson Cave, and when your brother turns around and puts the flashlight towards you, you see nothing. It's not helpful. No, at all. And he knows it. Anyway, I better call him later and give him a hard time about that. Anyway, but when you put the flashlight in front of you, it illuminates the path. You know where you're going. If we put it on our stuff, we're going to trip. We're going to fall. The algorithms of social media feed you what you repeatedly click on. Your soul works exactly the same way. Where your treasure is, there's your heart. Let me illustrate it this way. If you decided you were going to buy a 2010 Chevy Impala, before you purchased that Chevy Impala, you didn't see one anywhere. You know what I'm talking? You know where I'm going, right? The moment you buy it, how come everybody else has a Chevy Impala? Why? Because my focus is on that, right? During, I think it was like in year 2002, you guys remember the sniper problem in D.C.? So we lived in D.C. at that time, and I remember they were talking about he's in a white van, because at every scene there's been a white van, and I was like, hello, every construction company on the planet has 100 of those. At any incidents, anywhere, if you see a dog, there's still a white van, right? You see a Burger King, there's a white van. I mean, everywhere's a white van. It wasn't even a white van he was in. Like, we see it everywhere. It was like where our focus is. All of a sudden, at that moment, during that sniper incident, everybody's like, oh, there's a white van. I know it says FedEx, but I don't trust it. What's it doing out in front of my house with a package? You know, I mean, that's how bad it was. We didn't know. Make sure the algorithm of your heart is on Jesus, y'all. Attention becomes our affection. Our affection becomes our devotion. And our devotion becomes our destiny. I know this in my own life. You know, a divided eye becomes a divided life. Jesus needs to be at the forefront of our entire life. Third thing is your master determines your future. He says in verse 24 of our passage today, no one can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You can't serve both God and money. This passage is ultimately about worship. Money simply exposes worship, because the word worship comes from an English word, worthship, what we put worth in. And that exposes what we worship. Can't serve two masters, because the throne of your heart has only room for one king. And you ain't it. I think that a lot of times we just try to take that spot. I think we try to say, I know enough, I've been around enough, I'm old enough, I'm experienced enough, I should take the lead here. And all along we're like, no. Y'all, we needed Jesus at the lead. I don't know how many times this has become like cheesy and cliche, but I'll say it again anyway. Remember in the 80s, everybody had that bumper sticker that said, God is my co-pilot, you know, and that was terrible. Worst bumper sticker ever, because if he's the co-pilot, you're in the wrong seat. In Joshua chapter 24 and verse 15, but if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, and choose yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. You have a choice. You can't serve them both. You imagine if there were 2 steering wheels in your car? Come on now. If you're a passenger in your car, your brake doesn't work, does it? Anybody use that brake? It's funny. It's hilarious when you get too close and you see the person in your pushing on the floor mat. I'll be like, all right, Fred Flintstone, we ain't stopping that way. I don't know what you're trying over there. 2 steering wheels. Can you imagine that? 2 people trying to control a car, just doing this, you know. It's ridiculous. And we try to do that with our life. Every throne has only room for one king. Whatever you trust most, you worship. Whatever you worship masters you, controls you, makes your decisions for you. Been reading through for the, third or fourth time this book called The Christ of the Mount by E. Stanley Jones, written in like the 1930s. One of my favorite authors just because of the poetic way he writes things. But he basically says this is a paraphrase of what he had to say. Jesus is not merely changing outward behavior. He's reordering the center of life. He's not taking away treasure. He's just relocating it. The Christian life is not less life, but life centered in the kingdom instead of itself. Too many people in the world are saying, well, I don't want to become a Christian because it won't be fun anymore. It'll be boring, I don't know how many times people have come to a church somewhere where I was doing like Christian comedy, and they walk out going, I had a thing I thought Christian comedy was about, and, that was actually funny. We think that it's just less. It's not as good. It's like the great value of comedy or something, or the great value of life. Great value is the generic at Walmart, in case you were wondering. I like Honey Nut Cheerios, and I know my wife's already shaking her head. She's like, he's going to go there. Accidentally, at Aldi's, I'll give you that. We've had this discussion. It was an accident. She bought, what are they called? Like, I don't know. It was not Honey Nut Cheerios. Honey Oats and something or nothing. I was like, that is horse feed, I think. I'm not sure. It was not intended for human consumption. But the box, y'all, looks real, and it doesn't taste real. I was like, whoa, I went back to the box, and I was like, almost got me. And I thought she did it on purpose, and I confronted her, which was a mistake. And she said, I know, I didn't mean to. And I was like, I thought you was pulling something, because we ain't doing that, Sometimes the generics get it right, but that time they missed. We probably should edit that part out so we don't get sued by that company, by Aldi's or whatever. But here's the point. It's not about having a secondary life that's not good, that's not valuable. It's about finding out what life's really all about. You were created for a purpose. You were created by God so that He could love you, so that you could worship Him, so that you could experience abundant life. Whenever we try to make anything in this world our God, we miss out on abundancy. We become enslaved. We become curator, you know that word. We become managers of stuff. We're dusting it. We're just basically rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. That story about when the Titanic was sinking, and I don't know how true the story is. I didn't look it up. It just sounds really good to tell, so I tell you that. But the story of the band that decided to keep on playing. What are you doing? I'd be like, we're doing what? How about a lifeboat? How about we turn that giant bass upright you have into a boat? That looks good. I'll turn these fiddles into paddles. They're violins, I get it. But anyway, what are we doing on this life? Are we so focused on keeping our stuff? Like the Aesop's fable, one of my favorites of his was the little dog with the bone. And the story's simple. This dog is walking around proudly displaying this bone, and he comes up to a pond. And in the reflection of the pond is a bigger dog with a bigger bone. And he thinks to himself, that's the bone I want. And he lets go of his bone to find out it was only a reflection, and he lost both of them. That's us if everything in this world becomes everything there is. Over and over again in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said something profound. If you seek a reward here, you can get it. To me, that's very profound in the sense that if you want the applause of the earth, you can get it. If you want the stuff that's here, you can get it. If you want earthly pleasure, you can get it. But he says if you want what's real, if you want what's everlasting, he said, come and get it. Where is your heart? So here's the challenge as our praise team makes their way back up today. Everything we grip here on earth eventually slips through our fingers. But everything we surrender to Christ is kept forever. What are we holding on to? I love this illustration, and it didn't come from me, and I've shared it probably 3 times here at Turning Point. So here, you could, if you're playing bingo and finding out what I would say or what illustration I would use again, this is number 4. So I was at a conference, and Rick Warren talked about the staff of Moses, right? So what's this made of? Wood, right? Is this alive? No. He talked about Moses when one question God had for him was what? What's in your hand? His answer was simple. He's a staff. What did God ask Moses to do with that staff? Say it out loud. Throw it down. Lay it down. And what happened to that staff when he put it down? It's no longer dead wood. It's a live snake at the foot of the creator of heaven and earth. When we have everything in our hands, it's just dead. And what he's saying is, I'm not telling you to go without. I'm saying, lay it down. Put it at the foot of the cross. Lay your problems there, your anxieties, your pain, your fears, your possessions. It's like he says, I own everything, but you get to manage it. And then when you get to step foot on the streets of gold, if that's just an image he created for us to understand how precious it is up there, fine. But if we stand and walk in heaven and we realize that everything on earth was about right down here and everything up there is about here, then everything gets put in place. But if we think this is it, we're missing out. Don't miss out. Don't miss heaven for anything. So what's in your hand? Lay it at the foot of the cross. And I'm telling you, he's going to give it back to you. And he's going to let you enjoy it in a whole new way. Where if it's here today, wonderful. If it's not here tomorrow, wonderful. If I never get it again, wonderful. You know why? Because Jesus is absolutely everything. Today, if you're just holding on to something else, whatever it is, sin, stuff, relationships, ambition, yourself, lay it at the foot of the cross. And then you understand what life really is.